I wanted to ask, like, regarding like what we were just sharing about like recognizing the significance of our parents, like how not recognizing that um, kind of prevent one to be in touch with like the kind of reality of his aggregate, I'd say.
Exactly.
Like I wanted to ask like this specific thing because it's for me like it seems like there is like a link between the two, but I cannot really pinpoint it very clearly.
So that's where you would get to recognize, by not denying that significance, you would get to recognize what the Buddhist says, that basically when he says that if you were to be able to say, may my feeling be like this, may it not be like this, then you could say that feeling is self. But because you can't have it such that feeling is the way you want, that's how you recognize that feeling is not self. But the thing is, people usually recognize that easily with displeasure. Like, sure, if I'm having unpleasant emotions or something, most people who practice would see, well, that comes on its own. But when it comes to pleasure, there's always a tendency, because like as I always give the analogy, it's like a pendulum. So when you have been going into sensuality, which is basically all of us, and then we go in the opposite direction, you also want to now deny this stuff with the same intensity that you were going in the opposite direction. So then, like this fact that just pleasure is there by itself, even though you didn't ask for it, that gets to felt as like a problem. Like my parents, I shouldn't be feeling, that significance that's clearly there. So then I'm going to cover it up. But then how can you cover something up unless it's there first? Like if I say I'm going to cover this thing up, it's because I know it's there.
Yeah.
So you basically, as you said, the reality of the aggregates is that you have these feelings and they come. And then you have to recognize, so there's that gateway where you pass beyond, where it becomes, now it's the aggregates being there and me delighting in them on purpose. So that's not going to become apparent immediately, but it is something that you have to keep in mind always. Like, I shouldn't think that these things should stop arising, basically. I need to become imperturbable in regard to these things. That's the right thing to say. So
in regard to things with their full significance, which also came on its own.
Yeah. So then the Buddha would say, that's why the Buddha would say the developed mind is like when having seen a pleasing form with the eye, he does not delight in that pleasing form, or having heard a pleasing sound. So it's the pleasure, but that's what people don't recognize. Like, pleasure is not in. There tends to be this gratuitous distinction. Like, the pleasure is here in me, I feel the pleasure, and then the object is like out there in the world. So then, obviously, I have to keep seeing the object because otherwise I'm dead. Like, if I don't perceive anything anymore, I'm dead. But these feelings that come here, I have to get rid of that part and then just keep, and then that's how you get this notion of bare perception, or the pure sense data. Like, it's just the shapes or something, and the sounds, waves that you experience, but everything is just like devoid of any feeling. But that's not what the Buddha says. The perceptions and the feelings are there together. You can't separate them from each other. So if you it's not like the perceptions are over there and your feelings are over here. All of it is over there.
Yeah.
So that feeling is more on the side of your parents being what they are than like you feeling like that towards them. Your responsibility is the greed, aversion, and delusion. So are you committing actions now, most importantly, through body and speech? Like, they are your parents, but are you killing? Are you willing to kill, steal, lie, do all these sort of unwholesome things for the sake of your parents? Well, that would be now overstepping the significance of what your parents are, like, just on the basic level. Would you kill someone if they were to kill your parents, or would you even have harsh speech as because that's part of the precepts as well. So would you break any of those things for the sake of protecting your parents? And that would now be not just the significance being there, but you acting out of it. So then that extends now to the mental level. Like once the body and speech is well restrained, then you can see, oh, so I have these thoughts coming, memories or recollections about my life and all the things that have happened, but I have a choice now to either, as the Buddha said, attend to those things with Yoniso Manasikara or without Ayoniso Manasikara, such that the respective defilements will increase. But it's not like I have to get rid of this memory about, the special significance of my parents. I have to make it so that my mind doesn't kind of start leaping and get excited when it sees that. But the full thing, you can't deny it, because if you deny it, you're basically just trying to take a shortcut. It's like you're cheating, basically. It's like you.
Any act of denial is secondary.
Yeah.
Upon the thing you deny.
Yeah, it's like you have to carry this weight, and then, your strategy is to like make it lighter so that you can carry it, instead of make yourself strong so you can lift it up. So that's essentially the thing. Like whether it's pleasant feeling, whether it's unpleasant feeling, you don't deny it. You see that it has that weight, and you need to be strong enough to bear it, not make it be weaker. So,
is there kind of something to be said for the principle behind the bare awareness? It's just a matter of, kind of like you said, not trying to shave off like what qualifies as
it is bare awareness, like properly speaking, right mindfulness would be sort of bare awareness, but the problem is, what do you think is the threshold of bareness?
Right.
Is it
if
just
you're excluding anything that's ignorance?
Exactly. So
right.
if you think the bare awareness is just the sights and the sounds and the physical sensations and all that stuff, because you don't want to be dealing with how that feels, that's not your bare awareness anymore, because now you're modifying, like you're consciously manipulating the experience so as to remove the things that would bother you otherwise.
Right. So that does actually bring up a question. That's kind of people's interpretation of the, is it Bhattira?
Bhāhyā
Bhāhyā
Sutta.
Sutta,
Yeah. In the scene, just the scene means in the Buddha would be, he talked about that in Majjhima Nikāya 28. He said, when a sight is seen, all the five aggregates come into being. When a sound is seen, all the five aggregates come into being. When a smell is smelled, so if it were to mean like in the scene, just a scene, meaning like no, there's only a perception and nothing else. That's not what it is. It means the scene is that entirety, which includes even the feeling. So then that's what that simile that he gave that in another sutta, like the mind should be developed such that it's like a big mountain, that even if strong winds come, the mountain doesn't move. In the same way, a bhikkhu whose mind has been liberated, even if strong or powerful sights come into range, the mind doesn't move. So it's on the same, like, yes, in the scene, just the scene, but that sight has a significance. That sight has the Mara's bait, if you want to call it that way, which is that intensity of either pleasure or displeasure. So you don't exclude that.
So it's the scene in the sense of like the thing that is seen. Could you almost think about it like that? As opposed to like, it's not in the sight, there is just a sight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in like the thing that is seen.
Yeah, so actually that's what the Pali says. It says, ditte dittamata, in the scene, not just like in the sight. It doesn't say in the, like, the thing is, these are all kind of scientific notions that we have, like sense data and stimuli. But that's not how you start with experiences. You have experiences that are made up of form, feeling, perception, intention, and consciousness. You don't start with, the bare stuff first, and then the feeling comes kind of later, added to it. Yeah. If anything, the Buddha said feeling comes first and then perception later, not the other way around. But we would assume that like, oh, we have feelings, we have the perception first, and then, you know, if you're not careful enough, then the feelings started to get out of control. No, you like, would you even be attending to something if it wasn't pleasant in the first place? Like, or if it was unpleasant, let's say, if it was very unpleasant, your perception wouldn't even be directed towards it, basically. So it's just obviously it's a matter of just to a certain extent recognizing, as you said, that, oh, I'm denying this now. And just continuously, because it comes back again. Like, you see it, and then you later on you catch yourself, oh wait, I'm again falling into the same thing. So that's how you see, if you were just assuming, okay, so it's about doing this practice now, and I just keep going, and that's it, you would fall into that, and you just keep rolling, and then like it's kind of like, you know, in a race or something, you know, you didn't actually check if you you know, you just run, you know, the bell didn't even ring, you know, you're just running. You know, you're just going, and then you reach the end, and it's invalid. Like,
you never reach the end because you're not on the right track.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
just run somewhere randomly, just kind of going around.
Yeah. So that's, but it is that impulse. Like, yes, you want to be free from suffering, but it should not be at the expense of recognizing your attitudes behind that attempt to be free from suffering. Like, if you try to have it as soon as possible, what's always going to happen is you will try to cover it up. Like, if you want to rush something, it's always like that. Like, you start making compromises, and you don't see the reality of the foundation in this case is precisely the thing that you don't want to acknowledge. Because seeing those intentions, like seeing that intention to deny things, for example, that's that dissonance that I keep referring to. Like, when you recognize that and you don't act out of it anymore, but you don't try to get rid of it either, that's where you start to feel like, oh crap, these things are actually not in my control. But people would think like the inside of anatta should be like immediately some kind of release and pleasure, but no, the inside of anatta, like, you're working towards it right there. It's just that it's not pleasant, because it's the opposite of what the mind wants. Like, there's that perversion of perception that the Buddha talks about.
Yeah.
So this is not, noticing but not trying to get rid of the inclination towards covering things up, is what you're saying?
Well, even that you can't get, like, you need to stop giving in to the inclination.
Right.
But if you try to, like, no, I will never do this again.
Right. Yeah.
Then you will basically fall into, again, the same cover up and not recognizing that you could still. So you need to remain in that sort of middle ground where you recognize, oh, I could fall into this again. Right now, I am aware of it. I am not giving into it, but it could happen, and I can't try to deal with it ASAP. Like, you know, try to, because that's not how it works. It's like the Buddha would say, it's that simile of training the animals, that he would bind them to the post, and then he would let them keep pulling. It's not like, you know. But what most people want is, no, I want the animals to sit down as soon as possible. But that means they are not actually going to be tired out. You need to let them, you know, keep pulling until they actually sit down by themselves. But if you try to force them to, it's just going to be always that temporary suppression. So
And on your terms, in a way.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because what are you using there? I mean, if we get into the fundament, the nitty gritty, what are you using there to suppress your senses or your aggregates, are you using something other than the senses or the aggregates? So it's like you're feeding like you're using one pest to get rid of another pest.
Yeah.
It's like you're
It's like trying to get rid of the attachment by becoming attached to the
to
same
something
things.
else. Yeah.
It's like trying to, I don't know, like to erase an eraser with itself.
Yeah,
You know, like,
yeah,
it's like, doesn't work.
So then it's you need to have that recognition that, because some people would say, well, no, the practice begins by developing the right attachment. Like you get attached to your concentration, because people will recognize clearly there's attachment here. At least they're somewhat self-honest, but then they would think, no, but if I just keep going in that direction, later on, like I can then drop the attachment when I have developed it long enough. But the thing is, as the Buddha said, no, the Dhamma is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. In other words, at no point
and it's kind
at no point are you justified in having greed, aversion, and delusion. If there is, then it's not the Dhamma.
Yeah.
So it's like from the start, if there is, to the extent that you are not free from things, it's because you're looking at the wrong place. So assuming that some magical thing, again, not taking responsibility, like some magical thing will happen and then I would just be released on account of that, rather than saying, no, there is something here that if I could see it now, I would be freed, but it is my own underlying tendencies that doesn't allow me to see it. Not like doesn't allow me to see it. I myself, because of the way that I have inclined my mind, it's too unpleasant to look in the direction of Nibbana. So I have to basically be dipping my toes into it little by little, because it gets too unbearable if I just go head on. So it doesn't it will never be like a sudden kind of
gift.
A gift from just chance that you and then that's how you would have these weird views like, oh, some people just get it from a very young age or something, like, you know, a child, like
they just got all the luck basically.
Yeah. Like the child there's that boy who could apparently, like, he was a meditation master since he was like 5 years old or something.